again, it goes back to the same question, like, okay, what is the criteria, right? For what do you want from this? Eventually, you want a green card and you want the money to be, to reduce the risk level of that money so you can get it back sometime in the future. So what I was looking at specifically is, okay, specifically the three criteria is, okay, when do I get my money back? How much risk is involved? And the green card timelines. So I was really narrowing down between two of the projects specifically, was the One Tampa and the Rocky River, and applying these three criteria to both of them. The second one was how much risk is involved, like who's the developer. So I believe both of them was Coulter. So the risk was, okay, yeah, they have great track record, they have done everything, and so that is also sorted. It came down to basically the third point, which is when do you get your green card? So which is much faster in a rural area because of the much more allocation for like the Indian and the Chinese investors. So it nearly came to that point where, okay, if I invest now, when do I actually get my conditional green card, path to green card, and eventually the citizenship? And yeah, that's the criteria when I was looking at, like, hey, why would I pick Rocky River over any other kind of rural project? Because it primarily comes down to, hey, they've done this project in the past, they know what they're doing, and they know that's it's like probability of success. I know that the probability of success is much more higher with Rocky River when I invest with them.
So as I said, so even at the time of my application, everything was current, but like all the different categories in the set aside was current. But I was looking at the numbers published by various groups on this EB-5 data. Especially this FOIA request and all those things, and everything kind of mentioned this urban numbers were twice, like the pending requests, the pending applications for the urbans were like twice compared to the rural one, even though rural had 20% set aside. And everyone was expecting urban to get into kind of a backlog situation pretty soon. Within a year or so, they were expecting urban to get into a backlog situation, especially for India and China. So that was one of the decisions. That was one thing which kind of pushed me to say, okay, only rural and nothing else, because that had like 20% set aside. I think that kind of alone, driven the decision to rural projects.
One of the first criteria I was looking at was who is the developer of the project, and what is the regional center, and who are the major players of this particular project, right? What is their track record? That was important to me, right? Have they successfully executed such projects in the past, or is this like one of their first or second projects? So that was the experience or the tenure. That was one factor that was pretty important to me. The second was, and these are not, I mean, there's no order of ranking here really, but the macros of the project, right? Like for example, let's say in a rural project, which is kind of, the rural is coming from the census data, right? So I want to understand how far is it from like a major city, right? And like who are the people who are the target demographic that will kind of come there? Like, is it vacationers? Is it like older people? Is it children? That kind of stuff. So I was interested in veterans. You know, that who is this project serving? So that was another sub criteria, right, for the macros. And then what is the status of the project? Is it something that's almost complete? Is it something that's just starting? And I'll speak more to the state of the project later as well. Then the capital stack of that particular project? Right? How is it funded and like financed? How is the construction done for that, right? And how are the revenues generated? That's another sub criteria, which is it on a rolling basis, or is it that the entire construction has to complete before even a single dollar can come in? So there were aspects of that. Was it leased by is there a government involved here? So there were some factors like that involved. And the third criteria was the EB-5 program requires that you create like 10 jobs over a period of 2 years, right? So I'd suggest that people read up on what are the types of jobs that need to be created. So please do your research there and try to understand the RIMS model and all that's involved there, especially for the rural stuff. And you'll see that the job creation is the important part, because you can get a conditional green card, but if the job creation isn't met, you will never be able to satisfy the removal of conditions. So that's a very important part. One of the things that really played a key part in my decision was the RIA Act of 2022 specifically states that rural projects get priority processing. That's different from premium processing, which is like the H1 in the H1B world. That's a 15 calendar day processing time, but rural projects are prioritized over urban projects in terms of USCIS processing. So that played a key role in shifting towards rural, because I felt like it looked like urban projects might take a lot longer in terms of like USCIS reviewing the application. So that was a key decision there.
Being Canadian, I think that the advantages of the rural, it wasn't as important to me. Whether it was rural or urban, I was easily able to go with either of them. At the end of the day, the One Tampa project, I like the fact that it was 47% sold at that point that I was evaluating, and I like that there was a high sales of units. I actually called the project. I was going to go visit it. I didn't go visit it, but the project managers there were very responsive as well. I just felt after evaluating, it had the highest probability of getting built, getting done, and returning my investment within the time that's promised.
The USCIS, I believe, is giving what they call priority processing to the rural projects. So there probably will be some benefit to an application even coming from somebody in a country without retrogression and backlogs, such as Canada. Maybe we'll end up getting the 526 approval 6 months earlier, hopefully 6 months to a year earlier. But 6 months is still a significant amount of time. So that was a consideration. When you're doing an investor going into the EB-5 visa process, and the priority is the number one priority from my perspective anyway, is that the application is accepted, that the conditional green card is received, and that the job creation requirements are met, so that when the 829 application is filed, the permanent green card will be received for the investor and their family. And that's the primary, that's the most important element. And the most important part of that is to ensure that the job creation requirements are met. So we really like the Twin Lakes project from that perspective, because not only is it rural and has the priority processing, and hopefully we'll get the conditional approval faster, but the job creation requirements for the 50 EB5 investors have already been met. So the job creation is already in place. And whatever happens with the project, after following our investment, we should be receiving the conditional card.
To my mind, the single most important factor that matters in a real estate development like this is the track record of the developer. If they have a successful track record of doing this in the past, and not just once, but multiple times, that gives me great comfort that they know what they're doing and that they're going to repeat the track record. And Coulter Homes has a long track record in the Southeast of developing residential real estate sort that Lakes represents. And so given that track record, I felt that they would be an excellent source of investment and would produce the kind of results I was looking for. So that's the number one. Number two, as I mentioned, is the demographics. The kind of people they're selling to are people who I think will be able to manage through this possible recession we're looking at, if there is one, and continue to buy homes there. I don't think the recession would disrupt that as it might some other kind of real estate development in some other parts of the country. The Southeast is a prospering and growing area. People are moving there. And the doctors and lawyers who are buying into the Twin Lakes project should be able to be doing that under almost any economic scenario. So that helps. And as I say, the fact that it's in the Southeast, in Atlanta, where there is a growing population and people are moving there to the Sun Belt to retire. I met you were able to arrange for the VP of Coulter to meet us at the Twin Lakes project. The guy who supervises not only the Twin Lakes project, but a number of other Coulter projects in the Southeast. And he has extensive background in real estate development. And to explain to us, both his philosophy and strategy and how Coulter is managing this. And, it all held together and made sense to me. So I felt as a big guy in charge, the track record of the developer is extensive. And so everything really added up. It just seemed like a very positive opportunity. And I came across the Twin Lakes. I spent a lot of time looking at it, and I couldn't find any reason not to invest in it. I mean, everything added up correctly. So it's a good investment as far as I'm concerned.
A common problem which builders face, whether it's in India or the UK, where I spent several years of my career, as well as America, is, of course, running into capital-related problems. You start a project, you hope that, people are going to buy X number of homes, and then, you can just build the rest of the project based on, what they give you. And at any point of time, if, interest rates rise or there is a crisis and customers, do not appear as many as you thought they would, you're not going to be able to complete the project. The project is going to get stalled. You're eventually going to look for a buyer who's going to buy that project from you in a fire sale and then going to complete it. So I think the first thing which struck me was the fact that Coulter's projects, most of their recent projects have been capitalized with a full capital stack that includes a senior construction loan by a well-known conservative lender, and that to an organization like Wells Fargo. So fun fact is that now I work for Wells Fargo. I recently started working as a banker at Wells. And I know for a fact that Wells is a very conservative organization. They don't just give construction loans to builders that they do not have confidence in. The fact that Coulter has recently announced a project in Florida, it's a condo project with a $240 million senior construction loan, gave me a sense that Wells as an organization has, become comfortable with Coulter and Coulter's projects and the way they manage their capital expenditure. I think that acts as a big assurance here, because in a scenario where you have imperfect information or, a lot of information asymmetry, you try to arrive at a proxy of what situations would look like in future based on how a more reliable and a more established person or institution has evaluated the project.
Yeah, so we came up with a whole matrix to rank each of the projects and regional centers to select which project we wanted to go with. One of the top things that we considered was it needs to be a 956F approved project, given that Ishan and I didn't have our EB2 and EB3 I-140s approved. So we couldn't have taken that risk of a denial down the line. So 956 approved project, enough job cushion to get us the jobs needed for the EB5 green card. And then picking a project which was rural in the capital stack, which ranked in the senior loan capital stack. So those are kind of the early criteria we went with.
We looked at Coulter as a construction group, and we looked at just the past, their past of successful projects. Again, that gave us a lot of confidence in the terms of scale and also the terms of volume that they have delivered over the last couple of, or I think 3 decades or something. So there's a lot of background over there that we typically ignored when we were starting off this research. Most of the developers that the other RCs are working with sometimes turned out to be very small or brand new developers just working on this one project. So compared to that, Coulter seemed to be a lot more familiar and larger name. In general, they had a lot of successful projects. Just the volume of houses that they have delivered over the last 20-30 years has been massive.